And we're live, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Today, for the first time, we have our land acknowledgement on our agenda, and as this is something that Deputy Mayor Bray brought forward, I thought I would give her the honor of reading it for the first time.
Very much, Mayor Byfoldi. I would like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land we acknowledge that the town of Wasaga Beach is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18. The traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Tyonatani, the Wendat is home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. As part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across the island. It's time of truth and reconciliation. We welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask for guidance in all we do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. I'm not aware of any. If at some point throughout the meeting you find that you do, please declare it at that time. Adoption of minutes. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held August 18th, 2022 are hereby adopted as circulated. If I could have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Wells. Any discussion? All those in favor? And those opposed? That is carried by a vote of 6-1 with Councillor Belanger in opposition. Deputations, presentations, petitions, and public meeting. We have a petition today. Mr. Paul Miller will be in attendance to present a petition to Council regarding the planned fence and barriers at the new Twin Pad Arena Library, Ambulance Station, and Basketball Court site. If you wanted to join us here, you're both welcome to join us. My apologies, my script just has Paul's name in it.
Burns.
Sorry, Florence Burns. Yes. Welcome.
So, Madam Mayor and council members, my name is Paul Miller and my neighbor Florence Burns. I'm here today to discuss the petition from the residents of the Villas of Wasaga Meadows regarding the proposed height of the privacy fence between Ivy Crescent and the new library arena project. The petition has over 100 signatures on it, both from Ivy Crescent residents as well as our neighbors on Clover Crescent, Chestnut Lane, and Meadow Lane. The Villas at Wasaga Meadows homeowners purchased their homes to live out their senior years within an active lifestyle community surrounded by the restful, natural environment that this area is reputed for. I've lived here since '97, so I appreciate Wasaga Beach. It's great to live here. Our concerns regarding the planned fence are outlined in the petition attached. We, the undersigned, hereby request as the town of Wasaga Beach reduce the negative visual and noise impacts on the residents of the Villas of Wasaga Meadows by increasing the height of the planned fence bordering the villas. Oh, sorry. Okay. The the Villas at Wasaga Meadows with the new arena library to a minimum of 10 feet. This is based on providing a visual and sound barrier between the residential area and the new construction, and to provide a barrier for a future planned ambulance station and basketball courts with lights. We ask that you accept our petition and take it into consideration before proceeding with construction of the fence. Paul Miller on behalf of the Villas at Wasaga Meadows homeowners, and Florence Burns. I always call her Grace, I don't know why.
I'll just get you to pull the mic over to you now, Florence, and turn it back on.
Hello, my name is Florence Burns, as we have stated. I've lived in Wasaga Beach since '02, and I moved over when the villas opened, 2.5 years ago. And I would just like to say that I love my house, but what we went through during the construction of the arena library facility, it was very difficult. Like, things were falling off the walls. People have had some cracks in their sub-basements. Dust was in our teeth, I kid you not. And I just never anticipated that. The other thing was when, at the time of purchase, I'm digressing a little here, at the time of purchase, we had no knowledge that that facility was going to be built there. And now we hear that a section of land has been sold to the county of Simcoe for an ambulance bay. And like it's within feet of the residents at that end of our development. And on the other side, where the proposed basketball court will be, the lights will be how high. They're going to impact the people who live at that end. And the fence, the other thing is 6-foot fence where the proposed spot for it to be built, it's kind of in a dip, in a swell, so it truly won't be 6 feet. So cars coming down River Road West, cars coming into the parking lots there, it's not going to be a very happy situation. So we also were wondering what kind of construction would help with a noise barrier in particular. A wood fence, even if it's double-sided, I don't know what kind of noise barrier that would make. Anyway, if you have questions, we'd be glad to try to answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have a motion that I'll read, and then I will go to the CAO for some comments. That council received the petition from the Villas at Wasaga Meadows homeowners pertaining to fencing and barriers at the new Twin Pad Arena Library, ambulance station, and basketball court for information, and further that the petition be forwarded to staff for further review and report to be brought back to a future meeting. So we were discussing before the meeting here the need to make these decisions quickly, and I just want to go to the CAO. This is something that's been discussed by the Construction Steering Committee, and we do recognize that it does need to have a quick decision made. So, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, the Construction Steering Committee has had this item on its agenda and has been talking about it for the last 2 meetings. At our last meeting earlier this week on Tuesday, we talked about the Parkbridge side and the modifications that are required on the Parkbridge side of the property in order for a new fence to be installed along the property line. So we are actively working on addressing the concerns that have been expressed. The ask has been for a 10-foot high fence. The fence, the height in the site plan was for 6 feet. It is a barrier fence. We're looking at whether 10 feet is sufficient or not, or should we look at a different height. But those are all things that are under discussion right now. And certainly the concerns of the residents is very much front and center in our conversations at the committee level. We've involved our engineering staff as part of the discussion, as well as our planning staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm assuming the discussion about lights will, around the basketball courts and things like that, will also be part of the future discussions to ensure that those are not, they're shining in the right way, that they're not affecting homeowners?
Yes, Your Worship, that would be correct.
Go ahead, Florence.
May I have a question, please? When you mentioned the height of the fence, would you conceivably entertain the idea of going higher than 10 feet if you, your meetings and your processes decided that that was an option? Because that's the way it kind of came out.
Actually, if I may, Your Worship, we're looking at an 8-foot high fence, so from 6 to 8, but no decisions have been made at this point. There is quite a structural change in terms of the structure of the fence when we move from 6 feet to 8 feet and then to 10 feet. So right now, Your Worship, all options are on the table, but that's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And hearing the concerns today, Deputy Mayor Bray and myself do sit on that committee, so I hope that to have a fulsome discussion about that and the options as to how an 8-foot fence would mitigate the issues that the concerns that are being raised, and options for a higher one if we need that. Go ahead.
Oops. Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify that what we are looking at is a noise barrier, so it would be distinguished from a typical fence. It would actually be a noise barrier, so that's what we're looking at.
Right, which is great, providing it's high enough. Okay. Councillor Watson, you have a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. Personally, we have an example, I guess, on Westbury Road when the subdivision went around the Public Works yard, and there's a concrete barrier there. I don't know the height of it. It looks pretty tall. I'm just wondering if that could be a consideration to do it. I know it was a condition of the plan of subdivision that they erect that to mitigate noise between the subdivision and Public Works. So that's just a thought, and it may work well. Thank you.
Yeah, and we won't get into discussing the solutions today, just because I don't think the CAO can answer that, but I'm assuming staff will hear everything. We have Chris Rose here as well. Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Councillor Watson, for commenting on exactly what I was going to comment on. Westbury, because I don't live far from there, and I would guess those walls are far higher than 8 feet, but that's just my eye. But I rest assured that, again, the steering committee has heard Paul and Florence and the petition that you brought forward. I want to thank you for doing that. One comment, Florence, is if something we're doing is knocking plates off and causing dust, come to us sooner than the fence, because I know it's one thing for the steering committee and the construction thing and that, but you guys live there. You know things, and that's part of how a community works. You come, you chat, and we try and resolve. But thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Since it's been mentioned in the presentation, I think most of our lighting now is dark sky compliant, which is, it focuses the light more in the area as opposed to bouncing it all over the place. So I assume the steering committee will have looked at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Bray?
Thank you. Just a comment that there are rinks in lots of other places. And if we're looking at the height of the fence, we could maybe go back to some of those places that we visited when we were first planning our arena library. Because quite often I know we anticipate things might be a little bit worse than they actually are when they're built. But there's community hubs built into most communities. There's housing usually adjacent to them. So I'm sure other arenas have come up with solutions. Before we craft our own, we can maybe look to see what others have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seo. I'm assuming that's what will come back to the committee for discussion is examples from other places.
Yes, Your Worship, there are examples that we can look at, and that'll inform the decision of the committee.
Okay, thank you. Did you have any final comments?
Yes, I'm just concerned that I think that would be the right type of fence also. I thought about the Westbury, the Public Works. And the only thing, we had a huge, well, you can see those pictures with, we had a lot of buffer of trees. And the 6-foot fence, that's when the 6-foot fence was planned. But as you can see, those trees and the remaining trees that are in that picture, once the medical center's built, they'll be taken down to make room for the building. So it's going to be totally open with the rest of the town's is going to appreciate the arenas, and the town's going to get all the use out of the arenas, and we appreciate that. But you know, like to be that close to now that the ambulance station is going to be right up against the boundary and the basketball courts, you're going to hear basketball. I can hear the pickleball courts over at the old arena. I mean, we know there's going to be some noise, but that wasn't in the original plan when there was a 6-foot fence. The basketball courts, the emergency medical center, the ambulance center, that wasn't in the original plan that we knew about. And I was promised that the buffer of trees would always be there. You can see backing onto Burger King, they have the 9-foot fence that they have there, that metal fence that Parkbridge installed, I guess, and they have a large buffer of trees. So, and the placement of that fence, the way it's right now, 8 feet's not going to do it. Like, so I just wanted to get that out, that, you know, it's not going to work unless it's at least 10 feet, because I know the residents, that's what they're concerned about. And we're right up against it. I mean, I know there's other areas with an arena, but I mean, even the paramedic center down at Zoo Park, there's no subdivision right there. There's no housing right there. And we're sitting in our backyard, and we're going to be looking at, it's all going to be open. You know, like once those remaining trees are gone, it's all open right up to River Road. And the basketball court, that's going to make a big difference. There's going to be the noise all the time. And I'm afraid now that the people down in Parkbridge down there, they're getting less and less facilities. And the kids are coming up sometimes. They even had a fireworks display during the construction. There's going to be young guys driving around in their cars, as we all know, when that large parking lot's there and the basketball court. Like, we want to have some kind of, you know, the seniors. There's one lady that's on the corner. She's 90 years old. Like, she doesn't want to be up against a basketball court and a medical center. But maybe I'm rambling on too much. But I just wanted to get that out, so that we wouldn't be happy unless it's at least 10 feet, and it should be 10 or more. And the concrete, that's exactly what I was thinking of too, for the noise abatement. Thank you very much for listening to me today, and for great.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
And I have read the motion. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Belanger, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you for taking the time to come in today. And like I said, it'll go back to staff, and they will review all of it and come back. Okay? Thank you. Okay, next is comment and question period. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered today?
Thank you, Worship. No, we have no registrations for a question period.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business, we have the delegation request for endorsement of Bill 5. We have a motion that council hereby supports Bill 5, Stopping Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act 2022, an act to amend various statutes with respect to workplace violence and harassment policies in codes of conduct for councillors and members of local boards, and that a copy of this resolution be circulated to Women of Simcoe Say No. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Watson and Councillor Kinney, any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Correspondence received for information, Ontario Lottery and Gaming letter. The council received the letter dated September 12, 2022 from the OLG pertaining to sports books for information. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. Any discussion? Councillor Watson?
Thank you, Your Worship. That's on top of the good news of the casino and the revenue sharing agreement. It looks like if they bring a sports book in, that we're going to share in that revenue also. That's just icing on the cake, I guess, and just confirms the great decision made in 2012 to be a host community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing nothing else, all those in favor? And that is carried. Correspondence requiring action. We have a motion that council received the letter dated September 1st, 2022 from the town of Kingsville pertaining to Bill 3, Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022 for information, and further the council of the town of Wasaga Beach support this motion. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wells and Councillor Kinney. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to coordinated committee reports, we will start with community services with Councillor Kinney, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights of the September 15th, 2022 Community Service section of Coordinated Committee. Committee started the Coordinated Committee meeting with a minute of silence in memory of Her Majesty the Queen. Committee received for information the Age-Friendly Community Advisory Committee Annual Report The report highlights the committee's activity for the year, including a highly successful senior information and active living expo held in June. Committee also received for information the Recreation, Events, and Facilities Monthly Activity Report, as well as minutes for the June and July meeting of the Wasaga Beach Public Library Board. On behalf of the Community Services section of Coordinated Committee, I ask Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor Kinney's report? Okay, moving on to Public Works, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the September 15th, 2022 Public Works section of Coordinated Committee. Committee is recommending that Council approve contracts for the supply of gasoline, diesel, winter sand, and coarse salt as outlined in the related staff reports. Committee received for information the monthly Capital Works Project Status Report. The report highlights the work happening on several infrastructure investments the town is making throughout the community. As well, committee received for information the Water Pollution Control Plant Monthly Performance Report and the Drinking Water System Monthly Performance Report. Both reports note the systems are operating to provincial standards. In addition, committee received for information the monthly Wasaga Beach Transit Report. For August 2022, people took 6,385 rides compared to 5,193 rides for the same period a year ago. The town's transit system remains an economical and well-used way to navigate the community. Connecting links are available to Collingwood, Stayner, and Barrie. On behalf of the Public Works section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Councillor Watson's report? Okay, moving on to Development Committee, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights of the September 15th, 2022 Development Service section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received for information the Building Department Activity Summary for August. The department issued 168 building permits with a total construction value of $72 million. To date, the department has issued 635 building permits with a total construction value of $174 million. Of the permits issued in August, 153 were for single detached homes. The full report is available for review on the town website. Committee received a report on an application for site plan approval and directed staff to process the application in accordance with the Planning Act. The site plan is for a property at 654 River Road West. The property currently includes the Royal Bank. The applicant proposes replacing the existing bank building with a 4.5-story commercial, residential, mixed-use building. The proposal is to be accomplished through two phases. First, the construction of 8 townhouses, and secondly, the construction of the commercial mixed-use building. Committee also received for information the monthly Economic Development Activities Report. The EDO staff continued to work on a number of initiatives, including the town branding project and the facade improvement program. The report is available for review on the town website for members of the public wishing to learn more. On a related note, the committee is recommending Council approve the Facade Improvement Program grant application for Unit Number 1, 1470 Mosley Street. This grant is for 50% of the eligible work, up to $850. The grant will support new signage. Committee is also recommending Council approve applications to the exemption of part lot control to allow the division of blocks 231 to 235 and 238 in Plan 51M 1219, and that a related bylaw be passed by Council. The lots are in Phase 1A of the Pacific Homes subdivision, part of the Sunnydale Trails secondary plan. The town has issued building permits for townhomes on the above-mentioned blocks, 33 units in total, fronting Stately Drive. The part lot control exemption allows individual sale of the units. Finally, committee is recommending to Council the approval of the official plan amendment OP0220 and the zoning bylaw amendment Z0220 and the draft plan of subdivision PS0120, inclusive of the modification in the related staff report. The property is at 602, 612, 630, and 646 River Road West. The official plan amendment proposes the redesignation of the property from district commercial to residential. The zoning bylaw amendment would change the zoning of a portion of the property from district commercial hold and district commercial zone to residential zoning, outlined in detail in the related report. The draft plan of subdivision proposes the creation of 17 residential blocks and a road common elements block. On behalf of Development Services Section of Coordinating Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Councillor Foster's report? Okay, Deputy Mayor Bray, General Government, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following are the highlights from the September 15th, 2022 General Government Section of Coordinated Committee. Committee received for information the Municipal Law Enforcement monthly reports for July and August. In July, the department responded to 686 calls for service, and in August, the department answered 585 calls for service. Calls were for a number of matters, including property standards, parking, noise, and animal control. Committee is recommending Council enter into an encroachment agreement with the owner of 794 Eastdale Drive to allow a landscaped stone retaining wall on a portion of town-owned road allowance. Committee is also recommending that Council approve an unbudgeted expenditure of $24,220 before taxes from the Tax Rate Stabilization General Reserve to hire a consultant for a facilities condition assessment. Under provincial legislation, the town is required to have all assets included in the Asset Management Plan by July 2024. Part of the requirement includes an assessment of the facilities. As well, Committee is recommending that Council approve the firm Intuitive to undertake an energy demand plan at a cost of $39,000 plus HST. The plan is required under provincial regulations. The plan will help quantify current emissions for all town facilities, identify potential energy-efficient projects, and provide an action plan on how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from current levels. Also, Committee is recommending that Council approve a new purchasing policy for the municipality effective November 1st. The town last reviewed its purchasing policy in 2012. The policy brings the town in line with current procurement best practices. In the new policy, approval thresholds have been updated, and procurement reporting requirements will keep Council informed of procurement activities. A vendor code of conduct is also included in the policy to provide guidance to vendors and service providers. In addition, Committee received the January to June 2022 financial reports from the Treasurer. Overall, the town continues to be in a healthy financial position with the ability to maintain service levels and address growth-related capital works. The report is available on the town website for review. Committee also approved a motion from Councillor Dave Foster, which calls for the province to act on the 2021 recommendations from AMO that requests stiffer penalties for members of Council repeatedly found in contravention of Council codes of conduct. The town will circulate the motion to Ontario municipalities requesting their support. On behalf of the General Government Services Section of Coordinated Committee, I ask that Council approve the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Deputy Mayor Bray's report? Seeing none, we have a motion that Council receive the Coordinated Committee reports of September 15th, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Bray and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried. Next is the Committee of the Whole from September 22nd. The following are the highlights from the September 22nd, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Jennifer Van Gennep of the Women of Simcoe Say No spoke to committee about Bill 5, the Stop the Harassment and Abuse by Local Leaders Act. She asked Council to pass a motion endorsing Bill 5. She also asked that Council send a letter of support for the bill to area MPPs and other provincial officials. Committee received the presentation for information. Committee is recommending that Council award the consulting contract to lead the completion of the zoning bylaw update to WSP Canada Inc. at a cost of $100,000 exclusive of HST and inclusive of disbursements and contingencies. Committee is also recommending that Council receive for information the South Georgian Bay and Springwater Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan update. During its Committee of the Whole received the Barrie Court Services Area 2022 Second Quarter Provincial Offences Act report. The report notes Huronia West OPP issued 1,610 more tickets in the second quarter than for the same period in 2021. The town will receive a check for $19,619 as its share of second quarter revenue. Committee of the Whole is recommending Council approve an unbudgeted expenditure of approximately $32,000 before taxes from the Cemetery General Reserve for the purchase of a 48-unit curved columbarium in the Wasaga Beach Cemetery. In addition, committee is recommending that the first draft of the 2023 budget include a contribution to the reserve of $16,000 raised through taxation to replenish 50% of the reserve draw planned for in the 2022 forecast. The new columbarium is required in order for sales of columbarium space to continue. As well, committee is recommending that council receive for information the update from the Accessibility Advisory Committee regarding the installation of nonverbal signage communication boards at municipal playgrounds, and that staff bring forward the project for consideration in the 2023 budget. Committee is recommending that council adopt the updated Accessibility Advisory Committee terms of reference as outlined in the related staff report. Committee of the Whole also received for information a report from the Communications Officer regarding a land acknowledgement statement for the municipality. Committee is recommending that council adopt the statement included in the report. Committee is also recommending that council approve the Lions Club request for a grant to help pay for a replacement dishwasher. The request is for $5,487. The club's current machine is 18 years old and is not working properly. As well, the committee is recommending that council adopt the updated River Resources Advisory Committee terms of reference. Committee is also recommending to council that staff be authorized to contract chainsaw artist Jake Rhodes to complete an Every Child's Matter commemorative carving at the rec plaques at a cost of $5,000 plus taxes. Committee then moved into closed session to deal with a personnel matter. Committee received for information the closed session report from the CAO. On behalf of Committee of the Whole, I ask that council approve the recommendations in this report. Any discussion? Councillor Boulanger?
Yes, just to say that we had the pleasure of seeing the finished carving today and celebrating Respect and Reconciliation Day, and it was very well done, and I think an important addition to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion before us that council receive the Committee of the Whole report of September 22nd, 2022 as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Watson and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried. Item 8.3 and 8.4 are both dealing with our accounts. Deputy Mayor Bray, did you wish to speak to those?
Sorry, just to say that those reports are reviewed in light item detail at coordinated committee and were found to be in order.
Okay, thank you. The first one is that council approved the July 1st to 31st, 2022 accounts in the amount of $5,037,251.10. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Wells. All those in favor? And that is carried. And that council approved the August 1st to 31st, 2022 accounts in the amount of $8,287,930.37. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Deputy Mayor Bray. All those in favor? And that is carried. Next is the Executive Assistant to the CAO and Mayor and Council report. That council received the information report pertaining to proclamations and flag raisings for the month of September 2022 for information. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? And that is carried. Customer Service Coordinator's report regarding facility rental fee discount policy. The motion reads that council approve proposed revisions to the indoor facility rental fee policy for community organizations, including a title change to facility rentals fee discount policy as outlined in this report, and the appended draft of the policy, and further that a bylaw be presented to adopt the changes to this policy. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Watson, any discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Recreation Events and Facilities 3-year rates and fee schedule proposal that council recommend to council as budget committee to annually approve the proposed rates and fees as per the attached Schedule A, and further that council receives this report regarding the rationale of proposed rates and fees as information. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Kinney. Any discussion? All those, Councillor Foster?
Yeah, Your Worship, I could have done it on this one or the previous one. I just actually want to compliment staff on on, taking a deep dive into this and trying to find a balanced approach that's going to be best, not only for the people using it, but also will encourage greater use. So I'd just like to recognize them for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 8.7. Okay. All right, I've read the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh. Okay, and that is carried. Director of Finance and Treasurer's report regarding casino revenue allocation. The motion reads that Council received the casino revenue allocation and utilization draft policy and the staff report for information, and further that Council direct staff to seek input on the draft policy from the public through the town's public engagement platform, and return to committee with a summary of the comments and any proposed changes to the casino revenue allocation and utilization draft policy for further discussion and input from Council. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Belanger and Councillor Wells, any discussion? Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Worship. As Councillor Watson had mentioned, it's great to see that the casinos coming online soon and that the town will have some revenue coming from there. And I compliment our treasurer for getting ahead of the curve and putting together a policy. And also the public input, I think, is very viable, because I truly think that's what the Gaming Commission of Ontario is looking for, something that will help the community as a whole. And I'm just wondering whether or not in that public forum, whether or not we're going to go old school and open up the Recplex and have a bunch of boards there and just seek it that way too. Just a thought process for staff to look at. And I thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you. And I think this is just for putting it on our town's platform for now, but that doesn't mean that we can't open it up in the future. I think the public should have input on this and where they want to see this money go towards. So I'm glad to see this coming forward. Councillor Belanger?
So, thank you, Your Worship. I just had 3 items that I would like to have staff consider. In reviewing most of the platforms for the upcoming election, there seems to be support to invest in the arts and culture in our community, also in environmental considerations. Obviously, we just talked about and approved $39,000 for an assessment, which will no doubt identify opportunities to upgrade some of our facilities. So the consideration I would suggest is that we consider a minimum of $100,000 budget for beautification and investment in the arts in Wasaga Beach, and also the same $100,000 towards environmental upgrades, and that could include the plan that we're yet to create. And the final one I just wanted to indicate is that through COVID, we've had a significant increase in individuals that need help within our community. The food bank alone has increased its client base from 1,450 to over 2,000 residents that are now experiencing food insecurity on a regular basis. Currently, we budget $24,000 a year for that. I would like a consideration to increase that to $50,000. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for that. As the motion says, though, we are direct staff to seek input on the draft policy, so I encourage yourself to go to the site and add those comments, as well as anything that the public may have to add, and it will come forward through that process. Any other comments? Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, I'm going to go back a few election cycles, because when the casino came out, the numbers that were being predicted were anywhere between 3 and 5 million, and that was my biggest objection. Was I thought they were inflated. The estimate they have here, and it's just an estimate, is $1 million. That's more along the math that I did back in the day. So it's great that it's coming on board. It's great that we'll get that, and it's great that it's more realistic than might be found in election platforms. But I also, and again, I have the ability to do input, as does everyone else here on it. I do still maintain that part of the funds that are generated out of this indeed can go to help people facing those challenges, but also problem gambling and addiction is also an area that will statistically will grow in the area. So, but again, I also saying that, I know that the casino operators and the AGCO have a good program, including self-exclusion, but I do think some of the funds should head towards that, because there will be some challenges within the town. Thank you.
Councillor Belanger?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, so the public doesn't believe that the estimate for our revenue was totally inflated. There was a 40% reduction in the size of the casino through the process after that original estimate had been given. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know that that would be the reason for the change, but I've read the motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. Grant Specialist Report with regard to Federal Enabling Accessibility Fund. We have a motion. The Council approves submission of a grant application to Employment and Social Development Canada Federal Enabling Accessibility Fund Small Project Stream to help fund the replacement of the existing lift at Town Hall, and further that Council approve an unbudgeted expenditure funded through the General Reserve to cover the town's contribution commitment of $280,000, which together with a $100,000 grant, if successful, will be used to replace the lift. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster, any discussion? Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Worship. I'm happy to see this, and I compliment our grant specialists on digging this one up to help out, because I know it's been on the Accessibility Advisory Committee agenda for, well, since I've been there, and it's nice to see that we're moving forward with it, because I know the committee knew that it was grant needed, so as a result of that, I'm very happy to see that happening. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. Okay, I've read the motion. All those in favor? And that is carried. A report from the Director of Finance and Treasurer with regard to a new bank account for the Wasaga Beach Public Library. The Council approved the opening of a new designated Wasaga Beach Public Library bank account at TD Canada Trust for the deposit of Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industry grant funds, donations and payments made out to Wasaga Beach Public Library. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Wells. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. Community announcements. We will start with Councillor Wells today.
Thank you, Worship. Attended a number of events, starting with the flag raising in recognition of the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. We had the tree planting in Mills Park adjacent to the town hall here, and a dedication to former Mayor Walter Borthwick. This was put on and sponsored by Trees Canada and Home Hardware. And I note that all of the owners of Home Hardware were here, along with some of their staff, to assist students from Birchview Dunes School to do the tree planting. And I have to admit I've lost track, but over the last 20 or so years, Trees Canada and Beach Builders Home Hardware have partnered on numerous tree planting operations, and I'm sure that the number of trees planted is well into the thousands. So I congratulate Beach Builders Home Hardware and look forward to their continuing support with Trees Canada. We had the unveiling of the new town flag and the new logo. We had the opening and the ribbon cutting for Beach Booster, a new store on Mosley Street. We had the All Canada's meeting sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce last Sunday, and I just want to compliment the Chamber on a very, very well-run event. And we had today the flag raising and recognition of the commemorative carving, Every Child Matters, and the National Day of Truth and Recreation, and that occurred today at the Recplex. And I would encourage people to take the time to go in and look at the carving in honor of Truth and Reconciliation. It is, in fact, spectacular. So that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I believe you meant the ribbon cutting was Booster Juice. Sorry? Booster Juice was the ribbon cutting? I think you said Beach Booster. I'm sorry. Booster Juice. It was delicious.
I'm sorry, what I said.
Beach Booster.
I'm sorry. Booster Juice.
I'm going to go back to staff because I saw a flurry of activity here. So Jocelyn, did you want to join us at the table here?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, it was brought to my attention that on our grant report, we have requested an unbudgeted expenditure that exceeds what can be approved during the lame duck period. My apologies to everyone. That was an oversight on my part for not realizing there's a different process during this time period. So I'm now going to defer over to the clerk to please assist me with what the correct process would be.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, the CAO has delegated authority to approve these matters. So this particular report, we would have to have the CAO approve this through his delegated authority and not approved by council.
So do we have to have a vote to rescind this, or how do we move forward?
I would vote to rescind the decision of council and allow the CAO to use his delegated authority. Yeah.
In that matter, for item number 8.9.
For item number 8.9, if somebody who voted in favor, which I believe you all did, would move to rescind that motion, the CAO will take his direction accordingly, not from council, but on his own merit.
Okay, so to rescind would be Councillor Foster, Councillor Wells, and all those in favor. And that is carried and all fixed.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Okay, and we will go back to community announcements. Councillor Boulanger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended with Councillor Wells on all of the items he mentioned. Again, I would recommend to all of our residents to go and have a look at the commemorative carving. It's beautiful. The only other item that I was in attendance and part of the organizing committee was the charity golf tournament that raised $50,000 for Jumpstart, and that, of course, stays in our community to support the children of Wasaga Beach and Clearview. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually just wanted to comment because September is traditionally when the Terry Fox Run is run, and it was brought to my attention there was a Facebook post that blamed the town for not running the Terry Fox Run this year, and I pointed out as you know, avoid Facebook like the plague, but I felt I had to comment, and so I pointed out to the individual that Terry Fox runs around the world are run by only by volunteers. They're not done by corporations, and certainly not by municipalities. And both myself and Councillor Kinney, I've organized it for 13 years with the late Dr. Sarah Adams and Mike McCluskey, and Mark took over for me a year ago or 2 years ago, and but we both chose not to do it. This individual suggested that the town was taking something away, and as a Facebook conversation goes, it turned into freedom of speech issue, and I don't know how the heck it got where it got. But and then when I corrected the person, they just removed it from Facebook like it never happened, and that to me is the real tragedy of Facebook. So, and subsequently I found out that that person has contacted Terry Fox Run to or her husband to organize it, which is lovely. I would expect perhaps an apology for the misinformation before she does that. That being said, there still were 3 teams that chose to do it. So Lolo's team with Linda Lesage, Lori Sy created the team from Terry Fox, and Bobby McMeekin did that. And even without having a formal run, we still raised $3,700 in Wasaga Beach for Terry Fox. There's nothing to it. You can do it virtually. For those who may or may not have got one of these who are participants, that's the sticker. My friend from the Cancer Society did send, or the Terry Fox Foundation sent me that. So hopefully next year we'll have a bunch of people step up to do it. But again, Terry Fox doesn't require a committee to do it. Terry Fox requires you to sign up and get out and get your friends. That's all there is to it. And it's a huge cause. And again, I'm now at, I think, 26 consecutive years of doing it. So thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you for that clarification. Sometimes when you hit them with facts, those negative posts just do disappear. Deputy Mayor Bray.
Thank you, Mayor Byfolchi. Happy fall. It's been a busy month. As my previous reporters have said, we have been to many places, new businesses, flag raisings. I won't repeat the ones that I attended with them, but I will mention things that I have done on top of those. So it includes County Council, Committee of the Whole. I sit on the Finance and Audit Committee for the County of Simcoe, and we had our final meeting of the term yesterday. We have been meeting with the Construction Steering Group, and the Twin Pad Arena and Library, as we can all see, is moving along very well. The staff had our annual golf tournament. We probably haven't had it for a couple of years due to COVID, so it was really, really nice to actually get out on a golf course and hit a ball, a little white ball around a big green field. Whether you do it well or not, it's fun to do it with people you like. Today was the flag raising for Every Child Matters, and I mentioned that just because we introduced our new land acknowledgement today, and we also unveiled the new carving, which really is worth stopping at the Recplex to see. The mayor and I were able to attend the Spirit of Harriet Tubman, a historical, real story, I guess, told by an absolutely incredible acting group, so well worth attending. There was the Chamber of Commerce Business Awards, always nice to celebrate success, and we have a strong and vibrant business community in Wasaga Beach. It's great to see them out celebrating. And then from a town perspective, the age-friendly meetings were back and talking about what other things they can do within our community. The Healthy Community Network was meeting and keen to get things done before this term wraps up, and keen to sign up again next term to keep going. So there's some really good energy on that committee right now. And then finally, when we were at AMO, I met some representatives from the Ontario Long-Term Care Association, and in talking to them at their trade show, they offered to put together statistics for our area. So I sat through a 1-hour customized presentation on long-term care in Wasaga Beach, in Simcoe County, in Ontario, and then our conversation finally went to the world, because there really are some major issues coming up, and they don't just affect us in our neighborhood, they affect certainly most well-developed countries in the world. So it was a fascinating presentation. I will share it with my colleagues on council, and look forward to continuing to enjoy the great fall weather as long as it lasts. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to just echo some of the things that Deputy Mayor Beret has said. The fall, please get out and enjoy the good weather and the colors that we will be soon getting. The land acknowledgement, we started at council this meeting. I think it's long overdue, but I'm very, very happy that we finally started it. I attended the Accessibility Advisory Committee this month. Of note, as we'd mentioned about the elevator, they too are eager to continue on their good work, so I'm hoping a lot of the folks around the table will put in a new application for the new council coming in. This coming Saturday, October 1st, the Accessibility Committee, Advisory Committee, along with our fire department, I believe, are doing a food drive again at Foodland on River Road West. Last time they did, the committee, I believe, raised over 400 pounds, so hopefully they'll double that, because as Councillor Blanche had mentioned, the individuals in our community that need more food and it'll just help out the whole community at that. From a town perspective, Your Worship, it's good to see more buildings and more openings within our community. We mentioned before the casino. We had a deputation about the arena and library, although one that we have to address. We still have that moving quite forward, and we're happy about that. And next to it, and that was mentioned there too, the Petrocan Burger King gas station is open. And that would be my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was pleased to attend the last or final beachfront cleanup of the year in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Wasaga Beach, Georgian Bay Forever, and the Wasaga Climate Action Team. Attended the library end of summer party for the children. That was very well done. Attended a committee of it's called CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Persons chapter meeting, and met General Richard Romer there, who's now 98 years young, and he gave a talk to the assembled group. 2 NVCA meetings I attended, assisting residents with permitting issues. As Councillor Belanger mentioned, the golf tournament for Jumpstart. I'd like to thank Canadian Tire owner Ken Voss for having this tournament, and as Councillor Belanger mentioned, $50,000 was raised. Our farmers market, I think it came to an end this Tuesday, but during this summer, there was lots of great music, big crowds. The weather cooperated this year. I was happy to attend the Collingwood General Marine Hospital Golf Tournament at Mad River Golf Course, where $57,000 was raised for a new CT scanner for the hospital. The Wasaga Blues Festival went off this a weekend or so ago with great music. The weather was overall very good and big crowds, and I thank all the volunteers for putting this wonderful event on. The Wasaga Society for the Arts, this Friday evening, tomorrow evening, they are having a presentation of some Indigenous art for the community, if people want to attend that. Attended the United Church monthly dinner as a fundraiser. They put this on every month, and it's a wonderful meal. Attended a Greenbelt Zoom webinar on affordable housing, the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month flag raising, the 12th annual tree planting for beach builders at our park with the grade 7 class from Birchview. Councillor Wells mentioned that was a great event, and just shows the great corporate citizenship of Wasaga beach builders. The unveiling of the new town logo, ribbon cutting for Booster Juice, the flag raising for today for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and the wonderful chainsaw carving that was presented today. The Chamber Business Awards was very well attended, and congratulations to all the nominees and winners that evening. Also attended the Harriet Tubman song, dance, and one-person play that was put on at the Recplex by the Silver Shoe Historical Society. That was a wonderful play, great acting, and great music. And I did have the pleasure, I've just recently been appointed a member of the Development Committee of Georgian Triangle Hospice, and I was pleased to attend the Georgian Triangle Hospice Gala at Blue Mountain Resort this past weekend, and $392,000 was raised at that event to help hospice. It was just unbelievable, the generosity of all the people there. And one statistic stands out for me is that over 50% of the patients that go through Campbell House at the hospice are from Wasaga Beach. And the hospice serves town of the Blue Mountains, Collingwood, Clearview, and Wasaga Beach, and over 50% are from Wasaga Beach. So if you feel generous at all in talking to the residents, please support hospice going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I won't repeat everything. I attended much of the same events, as well as County Council, the Wasaga Distribution Board meetings, Chamber Board meetings, as well as their awards night, the Arena Library construction and committee meetings, affordable housing with the county, as well as a few for H2OI along with our OPP. And with that, we will move on. Oh, yes.
Councillor Watson mentioned about the Wasaga Society for the Arts. They are having a display over the next couple of weeks in the art gallery on the upstairs of the Stonebridge building, office buildings. Great display of Indigenous art will be there, and a couple of the Indigenous artists over time will be there. The event tomorrow night at 6:30, I think it is the official opening, but it's a ticketed-only event. But the tickets are free, but they're ticketing it so that they can accommodate the number of people that might want to attend. So tomorrow night, it's a ticketed event, free tickets. You can find the the information online at the Wasaga Society for the Arts. And you'll find all the information about the upcoming display. So I encourage everyone to take advantage of it. There will be some spectacular Indigenous art on display.
I'll just get you to hit your mic. Thank you. Next is notices of motion. I do have one from myself based on a meeting I had recently. Whereas the town of Wasaga Beach is constructing a new twin pad arena and library that is due to be completed in the summer of 2023, and whereas one arena pad is identified as a community arena with 200+ seats and the other arena pad is identified as an event arena with over 834 seats, and whereas interest has been expressed in establishing a Junior A hockey team in Wasaga Beach affiliated with the Greater Metro Junior A Hockey League, and whereas the Greater Metro Junior A Hockey League has been in operation for 18 years and has 25 teams in 4 divisions, and whereas players are between the ages of 16 to 21 and require paid billets in the community, and whereas having a Junior A team associated with the new Twin Pad Arena will enhance the facility and provide economic spin-offs to the local community when families and supporters from traveling teams come to visit, and whereas increased overnight stays in the off-season help build the case for hotel facilities in the community, and whereas having a Junior A team in Wasaga Beach will provide another form of entertainment for the community, and whereas team officials are not asking for financial support from the municipality, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Wasaga Beach provides direction to the Chief Administrative Officer to engage in discussions with representatives from the Greater Metro Junior A Hockey League to obtain information on what is required for a team to play out of the new Twin Pad Arena and report back to Council. So that will be discussed at our next meeting. Next is calling of committee meetings. Mr. CIO.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council, as we slip into October, we have a coordinated committee meeting on Thursday, October 13th at 9 a.m. and it'll take place in the council chamber. And then our council meeting for the month of October is Thursday, October 20th at 2 p.m. in the council chamber. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to bylaws. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wells, Councillor Kinney. Resolved that the following bylaws be received and be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered as follows. 2022-57, a bylaw to adopt the revised facility rentals fee policy number 4 to 6 and to repeal bylaw 2019-80. 2022-58, a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Accessibility Advisory Committee and to repeal bylaw 2018-21. 2022-59, a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the River Resources Advisory Committee and to repeal bylaw 2011-57. 2022-60, a bylaw to authorize an encroachment agreement between the Town of Wasaga Beach and Peter and Jody Marcucci for the property of Plan 708, Lot 26, municipally known as 794 Eastdale Drive. 2022-61, a bylaw to regulate the speed of traffic in school zones. 2022-62, a bylaw to exempt certain lands from part lot control pursuant to Section 50-7 of the Planning Act in respect of lands described as blocks 231 to 235 and 238, Plan 51M 1219 in the Town of Wasaga Beach, County of Simcoe, Pacific Developments, Inc., and Matheson Square, Inc. 2022, a bylaw to adopt amendment number 59 to the official plan for the Town of Wasaga Beach. 2022-64, a bylaw to amend the Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2003-60 as amended. 2022-65, a bylaw to amend the Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended. 1556614 Ontario Limited, Bay Cliff Homes Limited, Villas of Upper Wasaga Phase 4. And 2022-66, a bylaw to amend Town of Wasaga Beach Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2003-60 as amended, Brook Valley, Wasaga Inc., River's Edge Phase 1. All those in favor? And that is carried. Closed session, is there any need to go in closed session at this point? It is just closed session minutes. None? So we will go to the motion, resolve that council receive the following closed session reports as circulated and approves all actions contained therein. Regular meeting of council, August 18th, 2022, closed session minutes. Coordinated committee, September 15th, closed session minutes. Committee of the Whole, September 22nd, 2022, closed session minutes. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Watson. All those in favor? And that is carried. And 2022-67, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Resolved that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach at its regular meeting held Thursday, September 29th, be received and be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, passed in number 2022-67. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Belanger. All those in favor? And that is carried. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.